so sorry to keep you waiting. Not at all.
Is when I was a child, when I was very small, we didn't have a telephone at home, and I didn't live here then, lived in another village, and it was a time when very few people, mainly shops and small businesses, had telephones. Individual homes didn't have phones, so we would always have to go to the telephone box to ring my grandmother. But we weren't the only people doing that. There was always a queue of people waiting to make that weekly phone call to their grandmother or to their grandparents or indeed to their parents, and you'd have to wait patiently for your turn, and then you felt that you couldn't take too long because you look outside and there'd be this long queue of people all waiting, perhaps cold and windy weather, not very warm. But that's my memory. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, going with my mother to the corner, to the phone box to ring my grandmother. Well, this all came about 8 years ago when we were asked, along with most of the villages and towns here, to carry out a survey. It was called the Parish Plan, and it was across the whole of the area here, where each village and community were asked to complete a survey as what was important to them. And out of that came an overwhelming desire from the community here to protect and to look after and be very good custodians of what we ourselves have benefited from. What they were sad about was mistakes had been made in the past. Definitely had been made in the past, and where there were many differing views and priorities, the one thing that did come out was the fact that when the phone box was moved, it was really taken away overnight, and the red box disappeared, and we found ourselves with a grey plastic box. People at the time, they didn't really think they had the ability to be able to do very much about it, because the box belonged to British Telecom, to BT. It didn't belong to the village, and they are an enormous company, and we are only a very small community of 750 people, and it was felt that there was actually, sadly, nothing that we could actually do about it. But out of the parish plan, out of this survey, came this knowledge, actually, this desire to actually preserve what we'd got. And people were saying, actually, but we didn't preserve the phone box. It's so iconic. It's so much a part of English rural life and English life. How very sad that we've ended up with something that is out of keeping. We wrote to BT initially and just said, this is what we would like to do. As a community, this is what we would like to do. We would like to reinstate the red box. And we were told absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, categorically, it's not been done. It's never been done before, and no, it can't be done. In fact, BT have a policy of taking out red K6s at the moment, certainly not reinstating, certainly not putting them back. We'd rather have no box at all. We would rather have no telephone box than to have something that's so out of keeping with its environment. So we again contacted them again and said, well, yes, we understand it's your policy, but what we would like to do is we will actually be responsible for it. If you allow us to reinstate it, we as a community will take responsibility for it, and we will look after it, and we will maintain it. It was very difficult for us, especially during that first year. BT put up a lot of arguments as to why they felt that in this particular case the reinstatement of the phone box wasn't something that they could consider. It had never been done, and it seemed to be the argument was because it had never been done, it couldn't be done. They put up arguments about disabled people not being able to access the telephone box because of the heavy weight of the door, which seemed to be, a little bit more more of an excuse than a reason, to be honest, and we had to think of counter arguments as to why in this particular case we felt that the reinstatement of the box overrode all of these arguments. And it was really the thing that got us through, and there were many times when we came against brick walls when it just didn't seem that we were going to have our wish granted. It really did seem that they put up, blockades to us. And our next reply, and it was a very long and frustrating and protracted process, this, lots and lots of correspondence, but the next reply we had was that they would they would sell us the phone box as a community, but without the phone, just the box, just the empty shell. We said, well, we don't want just an empty shell. What is the point of an empty shell? If it's not a working phone box, then there's not a lot of point to it. So we wrote back and said, well, thank you very much, but that's not what we want. We would like to purchase the box. We will buy a new red box, or not a reconditioned box, and but we need to have a phone in it. Really refused and said, no, we can't possibly do that. You can buy a phone box and put it there, or we'll sell you one, but we can't put a phone in it. And in the end, it went up to board level within BT, and it was discussed there that this community really do, it's not just a whim, they really do want to reinstate the box. So in the end, the agreement with BT was that we as a village would buy a box, and we looked around and there were one or two suppliers, and we bought an old telephone box which was stripped right back down and repainted. It's got the royal crest on it. It's exactly as it was, as exactly the one that was taken out. And then BT actually agreed for the first, and it's the first in the country actually agreed to install the phone box for us and provide a phone. And so we now have the original phone box back. The most important thing is to have the willingness to want to succeed and to see, have a sharing of an ideal, really. We worked together as a team in order to achieve that, and that was with obviously the blessing and the backing of our parish council and the West Berks Council, and all our officials felt that it was an ideal, a very good opportunity to reinstate part of our history. The most abiding memories of the actual culmination of our project was the day the phone box came back to the village. It was so exciting. It turned up on a flatbed lorry. A whole lot of people from the community had arrived to see it come back into place. And when the lorry turned the corner, and here it was at long last after 2 years, a whole cheer went up and people were genuinely excited about its arrival back here to the village. And when it had got put back into place, it was hoisted back into place, we opened the door and one by one we all got in to make our first telephone call. We consider ourselves very, very fortunate to have the K6 back in the village, and we hope that it will be here now for all time and that future generations will really love it and enjoy it, because there's no doubt about it. It is an iconic feature of the British way of life. It's been here for many, many, many decades, and we hope that all of these boxes will be able to be retained and will be here for many, many decades to come.